To me, a camera was a way to show other people how I see the world. Everyone has a different pair of eyes. So this was a way for me to portray my individual perspective. I was sitting on a bank in the camp with 4 other friends, and we promised ourselves, if one of us will survive the Holocaust, even for 5 minutes, his duty will be to tell the whole world what happened, how cruel were the Germans or the Nazis. And this was an opportunity to do it. I was retired, and it became an obsession. I'll be completely frank.
For more than 2 decades, a Holocaust survivor has been recording the testimonies of other survivors in a makeshift studio in Melbourne. 94-year-old Philip Maisel has been trying to track the devastating effects of the Holocaust across the generations.
This is a well-worn path for Philip Maisel. For the past 25 years, he's been recording the testimonies of Melbourne's Holocaust survivors.
This was about 4 years after we started.
How many interviews have you done?
I personally over 1,000, possibly 1,300, something like that.
The tapes are mounting up.
The memories are like a lava with on the bottom volcano. And the process of interviewing is people get rid of this accumulated trauma. This is a collection of our VHS tapes, which later on we have to transfer to a different format, to digitize it and convert it to DVD. That the people survived, it was a miracle. And when I want to convince people they should give a testimony, I just tell them, you had the privilege to survive the Holocaust. You should talk for those who can't do it anymore.
At 94, Philip will soon end his time as the Keeper of Miracles. A 10-year plan to make his work available online is slowly coming to fruition.
What is extremely important in this project is that, it teaches people humanity.
Welcome everyone to this special event, mostly taking place in the lands of the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. We're here today to acknowledge and respect one of our elders, the marvellous Mr. Philip Maisel. In the pantheon of dedicated long-term volunteers at our Holocaust Museum, a wonderful group of individuals, Philip stands out. Until recently, he came 4 days a week, and many years ago daily, on a mission to record on video the testimonies of Holocaust survivors. I will not go into detail here, as this will steal the thunder of the incredible array of people who you'll be hearing from shortly. Just some of the many who worked with Philip or interacted with the collection. The work for which Philip was honoured with an Order of Australia Medal. I want to commence by thanking Philip on behalf of all his colleagues and say how much we've missed seeing you since COVID hit. You'll later hear about the tin shed where Philip originally worked from, and I once quipped that few men have been so productive in their sheds as Philip had. You've always been an inspiration to us, and for the last decade been the only survivor working in the upstairs offices, providing gentle, wise counsel to us all. I've worked with you for over 20 of the 30 years that you've been working at the centre, as a colleague and later as your boss. I stand by my observation that in that time I've aged and you've had an almost Dorian Gray-like quality of seeming to have stopped the ageing process completely. I want to wish you and your twin sister Bella a very happy 99th birthday. What a remarkable achievement. And I wish to recommend to everyone your memoir, The Keeper of Miracles, a real page-turner that's uplifting in the end. We'll be including some extracts read by some of your amazing team of volunteers throughout this event. So we're here today honouring your retirement and reflecting on all that you've achieved. How incredible that this work, entirely voluntary, began after your retirement from paid work. So I can't replace you, Philip. You know that you are irreplaceable. I'm assembling an academic advisory panel chaired by Professor Alastair Thompson. It will include such people as Dr. Paul Valent, Dr. Noah Schenker, Dr. David Sluky, Sarah Rood, and our own Dr. Anna Hirsch. Philip, you've always been so kind and so supportive to me, so generous to so many, so caring for our survivors, and just so positive in these troubled times. You're not just marvellous, you're a marvel, and we all wish you a long and healthy life.
My name is Philip Maisel. For the past 30 years, on most days of the week, I have travelled from my home to a humble museum nestled in the suburbs of Melbourne. There in a studio, I set up my video camera and bear witness while Holocaust survivors speak about the worst days of their lives, the darkest days of the 20th century. I record these stories for posterity, for the benefit of history, to remember the victims of the Shoah, and to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. I do this so that others have the chance to listen to another person's story, see the world the way they do, walk for a while in their shoes. I do this because I understand how important it is to record for all time what was done to innocent people in the name of a cruel ideology, to remind the world to be vigilant against bigotry and fear, so that we never forget, and it may never happen again. I do this to educate, to give people the tools they need to walk away from hatred. I do this because I am a survivor who saw my city, my culture, and my people brought to the brink of annihilation. My own story is just one of millions, but I hope that it reveals something of our shared experience. This is what stories are for, to record, for history and for all that we lost, our humanity, to understand other humans more completely. This is why we tell stories.
Thank you to Philip Maisel for your incredible contribution to the Jewish Holocaust Centre and to Holocaust education. Mazel tov on the launch of your book, The Keeper of Miracles. Philip, a Holocaust survivor himself, is retiring after more than 30 years of volunteer work at the Jewish Holocaust Centre in Melbourne. Philip created and grew the testimony department at the Jewish Holocaust Centre and has spent over 30 years collecting Melbourne Holocaust survivor testimony. First-hand survivor testimony is so important in ensuring that the atrocities of the Holocaust are both remembered and never repeated. It is very fitting that his message at the preface of his book says that for the next generation and those who fight for truth and justice. With time, memories fade, events are forgotten, and most of those who bore witness are no longer here to tell their stories. Philip's hard work means future generations will learn about the Holocaust and help make sure that the crimes of the Nazi killing machine are never repeated. Philip's book also includes a powerful quote from Elie Wiesel's book, Witness. I believe firmly and profoundly that whoever listens to a witness becomes a witness, Wiesel said, so that those who hear us, those who read us, must continue to bear witness for us. Until now, they're doing it with us. At a certain point in time, they will be doing it for all of us. Philip's 30 years of dedication and service have contributed profoundly to Holocaust education. We all have a collective duty to ensure that we never forget. Thank you, and Mazel Tov, Philip.
Dear Philip, the testimonies of Holocaust survivors have no substitute. No substitute. The Holocaust, on the part of its victims, will never be fully understood without the personal testimony. You understood this best of all, and you have acted with determination and vigor all your life to document the Holocaust survivors, those few remnants that allow us to dive into the blackest event in the history of our people. You not only conducted the interviews perfectly, trying to ameliorate the level of your documentation, you also knew what to ask and how to ask. You understood what was important and what was secondary, in what music of voice to use, how to draw the maximum story and details from the witness, how to make the testimony a historical, emotional, and educational experience. The enterprise of your life, Philip, is of immense historical, documentary, and pedagogical importance. Students, researchers, teachers, and historians will enjoy the fruits of your labor for many, many generations. Dear Philip, I enjoyed working alongside you and to be blessed to experience a mutual work with you. You're a wonderful person and a real hero, the glory of the Jewish people. I would like to wish you from the bottom of my heart a long life, good health, and great happiness. Dear Philip, thank you for the great gift you have bestowed on the historiography of the Holocaust period. Thank you very much.
I first met Philip in 1994 when I called him wanting to become involved in the Oral History Project. Philip warmly invited me to come to the centre and he interviewed me to see if I would be right for the project. There began my involvement for almost 15 years, working alongside Philip. It became clear to me from that moment and from every interview that I was involved in afterwards, and there were hundreds, that Philip was on a mission. He had work to do, and that was to record as many survivor testimonies as possible. It was peak season, and there were many survivors wanting to come forward to tell their story. So sometimes, some weeks, there would have been 5, maybe 6 interviews. Nothing was too much trouble, and Philip never, ever said he was tired or it was too much for him. And he had lots of work to do before the interviews and after the interviews. There were academics coming, there were professors, there were television crews, there were photographers, and everybody got a sense of who Philip Maisel was, his warmth, his intelligence, and his passion for this project. So Philip's work ethic was clear, but I came to know Philip really well over lunch breaks, where we would sit in the tea room and Philip would always offer me half of his rye bread sandwich. Thank you, Philip, for that, and also for our interesting and challenging conversations, where I learnt so much about you. We discussed Holocaust history, the reliability of memory, evil versus good, the power of forgiveness, the place for anger and hatred, the past, the future, and of course the importance and beauty of family. I marvelled at his positivity and his unshakable sense of decency. Philip said we always had a choice, and he would choose decency. I remain grateful that you welcomed me to participate in this project and upheld your confidence in me. While I never said this to you, I was aware of feeling like the odd one out in the interview room, 2 survivors and me, both with a shared unspoken language that I could never understand. For this, I also remain grateful to every survivor who allowed me to facilitate their interview and trusted me with their deeply personal, painful, and distressing stories. While it was impossible for me to know and understand the depth of trauma experienced, I can only hope that my commitment to help perpetuate the memory of their losses and their survival was enough. It was an enormous responsibility, and I relied on Philip's guidance and leadership throughout. I often said, Philip, we need more time for each survivor, but I came to accept that no story is ever complete. And Philip, the realist, agreed, but said, that's just the way it is. On a personal note, Philip, let me say that you have taught me a lot, and I want to refer to a story in your book which sums up one of these lessons beautifully. You had your precious boots confiscated and they housed family photos inside. You saw another Jew wearing them and you asked to have them back. When he declined, you said, if you saw someone wearing your boots, wouldn't you want them to return them to you? Isn't that what a decent person would do? You say this was one of your greatest achievements. This is a beautiful story, and I like that you didn't use force, but appealed to decency and being reasonable. This sums up you. Your book is surely another one of your great achievements. I read it, and I will reread it, and I will pass it on to ensure that your miracle happens, passing the story down so it's never forgotten. I know this is your greatest wish. Happy birthday, Philip. 99 is also miraculous. Enjoy your celebration.
Dear Philip, I would like to wish you a very happy birthday and to congratulate you on your book, Keeper of Miracles. It certainly is reflective of your positive attitude towards human nature. Once again, happy birthday and may God bless you.
Hi, my name is Michael and I was an intern at the Jewish Holocaust Center from September 2019 till April 2020. I guess like all Austrian interns, I also had the opportunity to spend a couple of hours each week with Philip, for what I'm still very thankful for, because he taught me so many things I didn't know, and not only about the history part of the Holocaust. It was always very fascinating to talk with him, because we didn't only talk about the horrible things that were happening during the Holocaust, but also about, the good things in life. For example, I remember how he was telling me about a girl he liked when he was 19, the same age I was at that time. So I kind of felt like being able to relate to him. Anyway, what I'm trying to tell is that Philip wasn't for me just a Holocaust survivor, but particularly a friend, probably the oldest friend I ever had. But anyways, he was a person that I even talk with about stuff like being in love with someone, which is a very beautiful thing. And when I reflect about my interactions with Philip, I also think about how much I learned from him about human strength and the strong will of not giving up. That perhaps was the most fascinating thing to me. Philip, a man in his 90s who literally survived the hell on earth, and yet he is such a kind, gentle soul. I mean, that's just so inspiring to me, and it made me believe that no matter what you go through in life, you can still be like Philip, being a happy and gentle person and just contribute the best of you to the world. I think it is a thought that I want to hold on to, and something I also want to try to achieve. Yeah.
I feel that people who survive the Holocaust have a certain responsibility. The fact that I was saved means to me that I have a certain task to perform. I collect testimonies here in the Holocaust Center. Why? To preserve the real story of the Holocaust. What happened? Who were the people and how did they fight the Holocaust? What effect the Holocaust had on them? We collect the testimonies from the Holocaust survivors, third generation and second generation. In our collections, we have about 1,300 of testimonies, video testimonies, and 200 audio testimonies. All the interviewing are done here on the spot for two reasons. First, because we have a studio where we can control the lights. Second thing, when people come to the Holocaust Center, they isolate themselves from the daily life. It's easier to bring them back into the past so they can concentrate on the events of the past. and concentrate more on the subjects they're talking about.
Hi Philip, I'm wishing you a happy birthday, your 99th birthday. Well, you're beating me by 2 years, and all those years since I know you, and through thick and thin. Well, it's a history of those years in the museum and beyond the museum, where we were so close in all aspects of the memories of our dear ones that were murdered in the Holocaust. And this is our triumph over the adversity, that we can celebrate now your 99th birthday, and hopefully we will be able to celebrate your 100th birthday. And you will be around to celebrate my 99th birthday. Oh, good luck, good health, and to see you again, and hopefully this pandemic will pass very soon.
My name is Max Wold, a long-time volunteer at the Jewish Holocaust Centre. For the last few years, I've been fortunate enough to work with Philip in interviewing Holocaust survivors and second generation. His treatment of interviewees was especially caring, making certain there was a glass of water and a box of Kleenex handy. His advice to me was extremely helpful during these times. Philip was relentless to gain as many interviewees as possible, realising the historical importance of what happened during the Holocaust, but also the effect on family life for the survivor after the war, and also how their experiences affected the second generation. He would often ring me and say he's found another person, pass on their contact, to enable me to get their background data in preparation for the coming interview. The Philip Maisel Testimonies project that he instigated many years ago will be a most important archive for educational purposes, but for vital for many of their descendants as a genealogical resource. It's been an honour for me to be a small part of Philip's project. We tend to forget the hours of video that Philip took during functions at the centre. This is also an invaluable archive of the centre's history. Long before I was involved with Philip, I can see him standing there now at functions, setting up his video camera. In fact, on a downloaded replay of the Yehuda Bauer talk in 2011, I found myself in the audience. I wish him well and good health and his retirement. It will certainly keep him updated with any ongoing interviews, COVID allowing. I wish you all the best, Philip.
For many years, Deakin University's Cultural Heritage and Museum Studies students have spent time at the Jewish Holocaust Centre to learn firsthand about the role of memory and testimony in museum and heritage practice. The session near the end of the day with Philip Maisel has been the memorable centrepiece of these visits. Philip has been generous with his time and knowledge, but also candid in his reflections about his own experiences of recording the memories of survivors and their families. With others at the centre, Philip created a safe space for students from many different nationalities and cultural backgrounds to ask their questions, anything at all, about the Holocaust and the lives of survivors. Philip told us many useful things about the Testimonies project, its origins, the advantages and differences that arose from his own survivor identity, and the ways in which he needed to learn a raft of new technologies. Students were very keen to build their skills and to learn about how to interview people, record their testimonies, and how to use these ethically and effectively in museums. But many students worried that the experience of meeting Philip and other survivors might be emotionally confronting, and were surprised to leave at the end of the day feeling hopeful. They often commented on Philip's humour, resilience and honesty, his insights into why and how people tell their stories. They were profoundly affected by his belief in the power of storytelling for survivors, and have taken this learning into their professional work in many places. Philip was able to share his commitment to the healing purpose of the Testimonies Project, and above all, his sense of privilege in witnessing and recording people's memories. So sincere thanks to you, Philip, for your enduring work and your generosity of spirit. You have helped many emerging and mid-career professionals in the museum world to think and learn, as will your book and the legacies of the testimonies themselves.
I feel so lucky to have been able to work on this project with Philip, collecting the testimonies of third-generation Holocaust survivors. And firstly, I think it's so important to be able to interview third-generation Holocaust survivors, to hear the memories of their grandparents, and also to understand the impacts of intergenerational trauma. I think this is especially meaningful for me as a third-generation Holocaust survivor myself. And secondly, though, I also found it to just be an incredible excuse to hang out with Philip. Always when I would come in before the interview started, we would have a chat about life and what was going on in the world, and Philip would of course be incredibly insightful and at the same time absolutely hilarious. And then when the person who was being interviewed would come in, he somehow had this way of making them feel so comfortable, and in such a short amount of time was able to establish this space where people felt like they were able to open up and discuss the intricacies of their trauma, the trauma of their family. What was most amazing is he was able to do this just through a short conversation at the start, and then really just his presence behind the camera, which I always thought was very difficult to operate. And I really think that this comes down to just how warm of a person Philip is and how open and genuine and kind. And I particularly loved as well the moments after the interviews when me and Philip would discuss the ideas and themes that emerged. And this was always done without judgment, but rather with a deep understanding of humanity and care for humanity. And overall, I feel incredibly privileged to have been able to work on this with Philip and contribute to collecting memories, and also to be able to understand and learn about that art of listening that Philip does so well. And of course, ultimately, I feel very privileged to have been able to spend such a beautiful time with Philip.
For me, it was more than a full-time role. The project took over my life in many ways. It took priority over nearly everything else. There were many days my daughter Yvonne would visit me at work to deliver the lunch I'd forgotten in my rush to get back to the JHC. I was present at every interview we did. I served as moral support and helped survivors keep track of dates and places. All our interviewers were volunteers and most were tremendously busy. We had professionals who could only volunteer one day of the week. People still had to make a living after all. It is important to know that the JHC was a labour of love. It was run entirely by volunteers, and everyone who volunteered donated their money as well as their time. At first we focused on collecting testimonies of the Holocaust, describing what had happened to the person. But soon we realised that we had another infinitely valuable resource available. These people were the last members of the Jewish communities from all over Europe, communities that had been completely destroyed. They could provide us with information that existed nowhere else on earth about shtetls, lives and communities that had been wiped out, the names of Jewish families that had been completely annihilated. Every survivor was a living tribute to all that we had lost.
In honouring Philip, the keeper of miracles, I have decided to integrate his life story into the pantheon of other renowned keepers of miracles. Philip was born in Vilna in 1922. 11 years later, Adolf Hitler seized power in Germany, promising to remove the Jews once and for all, first from Germany, then from Europe, and finally from the world. In 1933, Alfred Wiener sought refuge in exile. In London, he founded the Wiener Library, the first and one of the largest archives of the Holocaust. In 1941, Philip was incarcerated in the Vilna ghetto, where he joined the resistance and, as a slave laborer at the German Army's Heereskraftpark 565, acquired the life-saving skills as an auto mechanic. In 1941, the historian Simon Dubnow, incarcerated in the Riga ghetto, made a heartfelt appeal to his fellow inmates. Jews, write and record. On the 4th of December 1941, he was murdered. His plea, however, had not gone unheard. Secret archives were set up in Białystok, Kovno, Lodz, Vilna, and other ghettos. Emanuel Ringblom's underground archive in Warsaw on Next Shabbat housed and safeguarded the largest collection. Philip was not yet writing and recording. Deported to Estonia in 1943, he continued to fight for survival in forced labor camps, relying on his skills as an auto mechanic, on friends and, indeed, on miracles to stay alive. At the end of 1944, the long death marches commenced, first to Stutthof concentration camp, then to southwest Germany, to Dautmerger and Frommer, subcamps of Natzweiler Stutthof. In early May 1945, he was liberated by French troops. Upon liberation, the Red Cross set up its international tracing service in the German city of Arolsen. Today, the Arolsen archives, they house the largest record collection on Nazi terror and the Holocaust worldwide. Jewish historical commissions hastened to collect the testimonies of Holocaust survivors. More than 30,000 personal stories were recorded in the immediate post-war period. Amongst these first collectors, the Sammlers, were Philipp Friedman, Rachel Auerbach, and Nachum Blumenthal, together with Simon Wiesenthal and Joseph Wolf, and last but not least, David Boda, an American professor of psychology who in 1946 recorded the voices of 100 Holocaust survivors living in DP camps. Philip saw no need to enter the waiting rooms of DP camps. He settled down in Balligen, a town in Baden-Württemberg, where he worked for the French army as a skilled repairer of vehicles. In 1949, he made preparation to leave Germany. Like so many Holocaust survivors, altogether over 31,000, he decided to seek a new homeland in Australia. He arrived in Melbourne in January 1950. He started his professional life as cleaner, soon to resume working with motor cars in a garage and driving a taxi. In 1956, he married and became the proud father of 2 daughters. While Philip was enjoying a happy family life, custodians of memories continued to collect testimonials of survivors. YIVO in New York extended its collections. Ghetto fighters set up the Memorial Museum in Lohamit HaGeteot. Yad Vashem opened its doors in Jerusalem. Claude Lanzmann interviewed survivors and perpetrators for his epic, groundbreaking documentary Shoah. The Fortuner Video Archive at Yale University recorded 4,400 testimonials. In 1993, the U.S. Holocaust Memorial in Washington was founded. In the same year, the Spielberg Shoah Foundation embarked on its monumental task of recording the voices of last living witnesses of the Holocaust. More than 53,000 testimonials were recorded, over 2,500 in Australia. To conclude, the Jewish Holocaust Center in Melbourne opened in 1982. Philip joined the center in 1989. 3 years later, he took over the testimony department. He now joined the ranks of the renowned custodians of history and memories. Together with his team of dedicated assistants, he built up the largest and most important collection in Australia, containing almost 1,700 accounts, a veritable treasure trove for Holocaust remembrance, research and education. Indeed, personal accounts of survivors provide in many cases the easiest access point to learning about and understanding the Holocaust. And when these accounts contain messages of shared humanity and of hope despite the odds, then they become, like Philip's memoirs, an even more powerful educational tool. Today, we are celebrating Philip's 99th birthday and honoring his achievements as a true custodian of memories and keeper of miracles. Philip, I have known you for many years now, and I've learned a great deal from you. I'm sincerely grateful to you for that, and I can only say, bis 120. Thank you.
Hello, Philip. This is Elma Hanna. I just wanted to wish you many healthy returns and lots of nuggets from your family. Our story goes back over 70 years. We met in 51, and we had common friends. Your friends and my friends. You always had a camera, a Leica, and my future husband, Oscar, had a truck. And we used to go on outings, Arthur Seat or Marunda Lake on a weekend, and you always made pictures. And then you started working long before me in the Holocaust. And it encouraged me to start working with you, and I worked in the Polish room, first on doing the records for you, because you were always doing testimonies. That was your lifelong ambition, and you did it. I knew your wife, Miriam, for many years, but the Holocaust, eventually I had to have a course to do the Holocaust. It was not enough for me just doing your paperwork. I couldn't understand it anymore anyway, so that's how I started 25 years ago, and it's a long time, and your lifelong dream, what you wanted to do after the war, you did, and you're still doing. And I hope and pray that all your family is safe, and they love you, and I know them all. So I hope you have a wonderful birthday. Lots of nuggets.
Philip. Back in 2001, when I was fresh out of film school, I knocked on your door wanting to record authentic voices of Holocaust survivors for a small project. I could never have imagined that I would continue to work with you in your collection 20 years later. As a result of this chance encounter, you asked me to assist you in the process of converting your VHS recordings to DVD. Your forward thinking to migrate these materials at the time is testament to your understanding of the importance to preserve these memories for both future generations and for the wider community to learn from. Over these years, I have been honoured to have had the opportunity to know you. And reading your book, I am sure that many more people will understand how inspiring you are. One of the most important lessons you have taught me from our time together is the importance of supporting others. I have witnessed you offering your time and knowledge to your volunteers, students both young and old, academics, distinguished guests, and all other visitors who have knocked on your door. I am privileged to have the opportunity to continue to breathe new life into your recordings, working with this material to create important content for our education programs as well as for commemorations. I would also like to thank you on behalf of all the families who regularly request copies of testimony. Not a week goes by when I don't receive a message of thanks that we have the preserved memories of their loved ones. You have been a friend and a mentor, and after every function, I always look across to you for validation that I am doing you proud, and I hope to continue to make you proud long into the future. And just as you welcomed me into your office back in 2001, wanting to create something from the stories of the Holocaust, I will continue your legacy in supporting anyone who knocks on our door here at the Jewish Holocaust Centre with a keen desire. Philip, you are so much more than just a role model, and I again want to thank you for bringing me into your life and on this important journey preserving the memory of the Holocaust for future generations. Thank you.
My name is Berenice. I have volunteered on Wednesdays with Philip in testimonies for 17 years. Philip's memory is phenomenal. He can link details in personal testimonies to historical events of the Shoah, and when asked to suggest testimonies for research topics, he can recall and find the appropriate testimonies, of which there are over 1,000. Testimonies were filmed and then transferred onto VHS, then DVD, and then directly onto hard drive. Philip filmed and transferred all 1,000 plus from one format to another with the technical knowledge of all the equipment needed to do this. And then there were the centre functions. Philip would film these events earlier on VHS and then also on mini-tapes. The DVDs were tricky as they sometimes deteriorated and lost all the information. In order to temporarily resuscitate these, he discovered the heating method. The toilet hand dryers were not always convenient. We also tried steam from a boiling kettle. Then we bought a hairdryer. It worked long enough so that we could transfer the information onto a new disc. Under Philip's organisation, all the testimonies were numbered, catalogued and stored methodically in the cool room. Later, the VHS testimonies were also transferred to DVD, so there was a double security of preserving the survivors' memories. It has been inspiring volunteering with Philip. He is kind, patient, and always interested to learn about everyone he meets. Thank you for allowing me to share in your journey. I wish you all the best in your retirement and know that you will always find something to keep you busy.
Happy birthday, Philip. It's Stephen Smith here at USC Shoah Foundation at our headquarters in Los Angeles. And very soon, the beautiful and meaningful testimonies that you've been collecting for many, many years will be housed here in perpetuity safely so that they can tell the world the story that you have collected over many years. So as well as saying happy birthday to you and nearly reaching 100, I am also here to say thank you to you for 3 things. Firstly, thank you for being my teacher. I watched your testimony that you gave many years ago, a few weeks ago. During your testimony, you taught me many things. You taught me about the power of family. You taught me about the power of language. You taught me about the power of making wise choices. You also taught me a lot about the Holocaust that I didn't know. You mentioned 6 different camps that you had been in Estonia and also in Germany that I had literally never heard of after 30 years of working on the Holocaust. So thank you for teaching me all of that. But also, thank you for teaching me about the power of resilience. Your story is one of resilience. I still don't know. I am amazed, as I'm sure you are. Every single day we hear new stories that teach us new things, and you certainly taught me a great deal. Secondly, I want to thank you for your service to humanity. Only just before the pandemic, I was in Melbourne and I saw you at work in your studio where you've been week after week at the Holocaust Museum there, documenting the lives of Holocaust survivors. Your service to humanity is immense, and your commitment doing that week in and week out for the lives of the survivors whose stories you have documented will be a testament to you forever. And I want to thank you thirdly for rescuing those lives. You know, I don't think of testimony as being a document of history, and I'm sure you think the same way, that when we meet together with the survivors who tell their stories, we know that it is their life that they are sharing with us, and you have rescued so many of those lives in your archive. I am proud to be your colleague, I am proud to be your friend, and I want to assure you, as you get into your 100th year, that when your 200th year comes around, that the Shoah Foundation will be continuing to preserve the testimonies that you have collected and ensure that they are there for future generations. Philip, happy birthday, have a wonderful year, and I'll see you at your 100th birthday a year from now. Bye for now.
We didn't have money to build a proper studio, so we improvised. The JHC gave us the use of a little shed at the back of the museum. The roof was leaking, so we installed an artificial flower where the water dripped down and joked to visitors it was an irrigation system to help the flower grow. The shed was a very narrow room, only a couple of metres across and about the length of 2 dining tables, but it was a cosy, intimate space. Something about the close quarters helped people to feel comfortable and to forget where they were, allowing them to completely submerge themselves in their memories. Without the selfless contributions of dozens of people over the years, it would have been impossible to achieve what we did. Those who conducted the interviews were especially valuable. A good interviewer is rare, but over the years we built a wonderful team. The greatest strength of the Testimonies Project at JHC comes from our sense of community and building a relationship between interviewer and witness. The act of taking a person's testimonial is a great responsibility. The interviewer owes it to the survivor to be careful with their memories and their trauma. When a testimony is given in a drafty shed with the rain drumming on the roof, it will be of a different quality to that given to a Hollywood film producer.
Hi Dad, I want to say Mazel Tov and Kol HaKavod to you on creating your wonderful book, The Keeper of Miracles. Thank you for opening your heart and your mind to recall and recount the unimaginable persecution and torment you experienced and witnessed in the formative years of your life. Your book is a gift not only to our family, but to current and future generations. I would also like to acknowledge the Order of Australia medal you received. It is such a fitting tribute to your selfless dedication to the Testimonies Project at the Holocaust Centre. You are my hero.
Papa, I am really proud to be able to say a couple of quick words for your event tonight to celebrate the launch of your book and also your wonderful career at the Holocaust Centre. Firstly, the book, it was a fantastic read, and more so than that, there was a really inspiring message to take from it, not just from today's generation, but for future generations as well. So congratulations. I'm incredibly proud to see it published. You've always been an inspirational person for me, and to see your life documented is certainly a very important thing for the whole family, the wider community, I believe, and for future generations as well. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you, and I'm thrilled that your work at the Holocaust Centre and your book is being celebrated tonight.
I'm Rob, one of Philip's grandsons, and Papa, I want to congratulate you on the publication of your memoir. I'm really proud of you. Typically, it's the children and grandchildren in the family that go out and bring their parents and grandparents nachas. But sometimes, in our family, it feels like that's reversed. My entire life, I've seen you selflessly volunteering at the Holocaust Centre, preserving for future generations countless memories and records. As a child, during school holidays, you and Nana would often take care of us, and trips to visit you at work at the Holocaust Centre was always a big highlight. It was exciting to see your studio, meet your friends and colleagues, and learn to use all of the audiovisual equipment. As I grew older, my appreciation for the work that you did, and the work that you still do, grew deeper as I understood the importance of making these records available to the world, for this generation and beyond. The time and effort and heart that you've put into your work over the past 30 years is a genuine inspiration to me. You've taught me so much, including the importance of family, education and health, and the value of contributing to the community, both locally and globally. Papa, congratulations again. I'm really proud to be one of your grandsons.
Hi Papa, congratulations on your book launch, as well as the recognition of your many years of service at the JHC. Your attitude, positivity, and personable nature are truly inspirational, particularly in light of all the challenges you faced throughout the war. You bring so much nachas and joy to our family, and I couldn't be any prouder of your accomplishments. I hope we can all do our best to follow your example. Congratulations again.
Dad, I'm thrilled to share a few words tonight in celebration of your book launch, The Keeper of Miracles, and your significant contribution as Director of the Testimonies Department at the Jewish Holocaust Centre. Growing up, you only shared with me small snippets of your personal experiences during the Holocaust. Reading your memoirs has now given me a great depth and insight into your experiences, as well as your mindset along the way. Your powerful story is a treasured record for our family. Dad, you have touched and inspired many people over the years. This event tonight is a testament to that. You are a dear treasure to the community and to our family. We are so immensely proud of you and your achievements, and we love you beyond measure. Mazel tov on the release of the book and all the important, significant work that you have undertaken at the Holocaust Centre. You have left a huge legacy.
I would like to express my gratitude to all my dear friends and colleagues who contributed for the success of tonight's event. And most importantly, I would like to thank the management of Holocaust Center who enabled me for 30 years to collect the testimonies and record all the important events in the Holocaust Center. This word is not an ideal word, and we must teach the young generation how to improve it, even in a small way. The Holocaust Center does it very successful, and I hope it will continue to do it for many years. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pauline Rockman, and as co-president of the Jewish Holocaust Centre, it's my great pleasure to extend the vote of thanks to all of those involved in tonight's wonderful event. And indeed, what a special event it has turned out to be. Dear Philip, as has been magnificently illustrated this evening, your dedication and contribution to the Jewish Holocaust Centre for over 30 years has been outstanding. This includes the untold hours you dedicated to creating and building up the Testimonies Department, your presence at so many JHC events, filming for posterity. We have seen some of these this evening in Robbie Simon's brilliant presentation. Thank you to Robbie. You have been super generous to the JHC in providing essential equipment for your department and for donations to many projects that without your support just would not have happened. You are retiring at the age of 99, and what an incredible innings. And you have recently published your memoir entitled The Keeper of Miracles. Please buy this book, not only because it's a great read, but Philip has chosen that all royalties from this memoir a director to the Jewish Holocaust Centre. And actually, Philip, there is much more than the JHC who have benefited and will continue to benefit from the legacy of your endeavours. As the Jewish Holocaust Centre testimonies become available in the USC Shoah Foundation archive. On behalf of my co-president, Sue Hampel, and the directors of the board of the JHC, we salute you, Philip. You are actually a life governor of the centre. To Josh Frydenberg, Stephen Smith, Gideon Greif, Conrad Quaid, and to all who have contributed to this evening, we thank you for taking the time to be part of this special tribute. You have really painted a wonderful picture of this very remarkable person. In closing, I'd like to thank you, Philip, for the pivotal part you've played in my life. My entree to the JHC was as an interviewer working with you in the testimony department in the year 1994. I had a really impressive apprenticeship working alongside you and then spent nearly 2 years interviewing Holocaust survivors. For me, it was an extraordinarily humbling and uplifting experience, hearing about the Holocaust from the actual eyewitnesses. This became the catalyst to send me on a path seeking out more about the Shoah and led me to continue on that path and for my future and current involvement in the JHC now as co-president. To date, this work has been very significant for me, one of the most amazing experiences of my life, so very enriching and satisfying. So my heartfelt thanks to you for guiding, supporting and encouraging me along the way. Mentor, teacher, friend. Philip, I look forward to when we can meet in person once again and we can resume our coffee dates. And finally, to all you who attended, for making this a night to be remembered. Stay safe and take care until we can all meet again in person. Thank you.
Congratulations. All the best. Po polsku, nie?
Shake it. Sie zerspritzt von unser Blut. Sprotzen wird dort unser Gwure, unsere Mut. Es wird die Morgensonne begilden uns dem Heint. Und der Nächten wird verschwinden mit dem Feind. Nur heute versammeln wird die Sonne und der Kajor. Wie a Parol soll gehen das Lied von Dor zu Dor. Nur heute versammeln wird die Sonne und der Kajor. Wie a Parol soll gehen das Lied von Dor zu Dor. Das Lied geschrieben ist mit Blut und nicht mit Blei. Es ist nicht kein Lied von a Fegel auf der frei. Das hat a Volk zwischen fallen dicke Wind. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. Das hat a Volk zwischen fallen dicke Wind. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. Das sag nicht keinmal, als du gehst dem letzten Weg. Wenn Himmeln bleiene verstellen blaue Tag. Kommen wird doch unser ausgebänkte Schor. Es wird abeugt an unser Trat, wir sehnen durch. Kommen wird doch unser ausgebänkte Schor. Es wird abeugt an unser Trotz, wir sehnen durch.